Hi guys, and welcome to Car Focus. Now in today's episode, as you can probably see next to me here, we're going to be looking at the Mark 8 2018 Ford Fiesta Active. Now this particular Active is the B&O variant, so it's obviously fitted with the B&O sound system. Now there are three variants of Active that are available to purchase at the moment. You've got the Active 1, the Active B&O and the Active X. Now each one gets more expensive, but there are more features on each model. Now before we get started, I'd just like to say thank you to TC Harrison Ford, who have provided me with this vehicle. They're actually offering 48-hour test drives at the moment on the Fiesta Active. If this is something that you'd be interested in, then by all means please do get hold of TC Harrison Ford. I'll put a link in the description to the video, and I'm sure that can be arranged for you to take this car out for 48 hours just to get a feel for how the car actually performs. Now I've had this car for a couple of days, so I have got a bit of a feeling now as to the things I do like about it and the things I dislike about it. Now starting from the outside of the car, I'm a big fan of this Mark 8 Fiesta, and there's been quite a bit of negativity initially when the car was released about the way it looks, but I've always been a big fan, and I think it's just a nice refresh on the existing model, particularly on the inside, which is where it's much improved upon. But the outside, this car here, the Active, the main differences you'll see between this and a normal Fiesta is firstly the ride height. So the car is actually raised slightly on more rugged suspension. It's kind of aimed at, it's supposed to be a crossover, so it's like heading towards a kind of a mini SUV. Now although the actual chassis itself and the size of the car is the same as a normal Fiesta, the car does sit a little bit higher. So moving around the car, you've got a more rugged body kit, so you've got a more rugged front splitter. You've got these side skirts along the car which go around the wheel arches as well, and then around the back of the car that turns into a bit of a bigger rear diffuser as well. You've got Active badges on the wings of the car. You've got black gloss black mirror caps, a gloss black roof, and you've also got black roof rails which kind of tell the car apart from your standard Fiesta. We've got 17-inch gloss black wheels with a polished kind of chrome finish to the wheels, which is also an individual feature to this car. And yeah, that's pretty much it from the outside. Also on the outside of the car, we've got the nice LED halos, which I think look really good. You can actually spec LED headlamps as well, but they are quite pricey at around £600. But yeah, that's essentially the differences between the Active and the normal Fiesta. Now this B&O Active, this retails at around 19,500. The standard Active 1, that's around 18,000, and then you've got the Active X, which is the top of the line Active, that's around 20,700. So they do seem quite expensive, but if you compare other vehicles within the same kind of market, i.e. the Citroen C4 Cactus, these are very competitively priced. Now if you wanted to get an Active X and you wanted to spec it up as highly as it is possible, so panoramic roof, half leather seats, everything you can imagine, you're looking at about 20,400, which is quite expensive. So yeah, I think the next thing we need to do with this car is step inside, take it for a drive, and I'll explain just what I think of the car, the things I like and the things I dislike, and how it actually performs on the road. So here we are inside the Ford Fiesta Active. Now before we get started, I just want to apologise because the sunlight is really low. It's playing havoc with filming today. So if I all of a sudden turn white, like bright white, that is the sun, and I do apologise. Anyway, the interior of this car is a very, very nice place to be. The Mark 8 Fiesta has come a long way since previous generations. Much improved quality, much improved tech, and just overall the comfort of the car is really good for a car of this class. We've got a lovely seating position, visibility is really good, seats really comfortable. This particular model has heated seats which heat up like that, keep your backside warm on a cold day, and the seat is also nice and adjustable with lumbar support. You can pump the seat up and down. So it's just really good. These seats also, they have the exclusive Active pattern in the yellow, just to kind of tell them apart from other versions. So when you get in the car, you know you're in an Active. Also exclusive to the Active in this car, we've got black roof lining here, and we've also got yellow trim around the air vents and yellow trim on the door cards. Also on the dashboard, you've got this kind of nice glossy effect carbon trim. It's faux carbon, it isn't real carbon, but it looks nice. And we've got the 8-inch Sync 3 touchscreen, which is now commonplace in these Mark 8 Fiestas. The infotainment system is very good, it's very easy to use, very simple. Sat-nav's very clear and easy to navigate, and there's only a few buttons now, whereas on the previous generation we had a lot of buttons and it started to get very confusing. But just a few buttons now, it's all very simple. Steering wheel, very nice, very thick, nice leather touch. This is also heated, which is an option. Heats up really quickly, keeps your hands nice and warm on those cold mornings. The instrument cluster is very clean, very smooth. It's changed from the previous generation, it looks very nice. You've got a nice trip computer now with different features on. We've got lane assist, we've got traffic sign recognition, auto high beam, you can check your tyre pressures, you can adjust the settings in the car. It's just very nice and effective, just a nice little touch there, just to keep an eye on things with the car. Also in this car we've got illuminated cup holders which illuminate blue at night. We've got illuminated door cards in the pockets here so you can see things you've got tucked away. Illuminated footwells, which gives the car just a nice ambient feel at night. We've also got our touch points here, so our gear stick, which is leather, it feels nice. It's a little bit of a weird shape though, so it can feel a little bit uncomfortable. I would have preferred it if it was round, but it's nice quality anyway. The handbrake is also a nice soft leather, and we've got an armrest here which is also leather. So your main touch points in this car are very nice. However, the door cards, I've always had a bit of a gripe with the door cards in these Mark 8 Fiestas. They are a bit tacky, a bit cheap, feel a bit plasticky. I think they could have been improved on, but I don't think that's going to happen now with this car. I think we're going to have to put up with that until the new generation comes in. Rear seats, there's plenty of room in the back. We've got some nice amount of headroom in the back for an average sized person. Wouldn't want to get 3 people in the rear, but 2 adults, it would be absolutely fine. The boot is a fair size, it's not huge with this car being quite a small car, but you can get the necessities in there. It'd be fine for a shop, you know, a trip to Tesco or something like that, it'd be absolutely fine. A couple of suitcases you could probably squeeze in there, and if you fold the seats down you can obviously get some more stuff in the back of the car. So yeah, the inside of this car, I really like it. Now the driving dynamics of this car, it's very smooth. It's obviously raised, the suspension is raised, it's higher, so there's a bit more spring travel. So over bumps it kind of flows a little bit better. But yeah, it is very smooth, and it is also very quiet. And that's one of the things I've enjoyed with this car. I've been on a couple of long journeys, I've been to the coast, and it's just been nice and pleasant. With the B&O sound system as well, you can turn up the volume and you've got nice bass tones, it sounds nice and crisp. It just gives this car a premium feel when you're on a long run, which is what you want from a car like this. This is the type of car that you're going to want to use on a daily basis to do different tasks, and you want to do it in comfort. So yeah, I've really enjoyed this car. The steering feels nice and light, it feels nice and sharp. With the suspension being a bit higher, the car does tend to wallow a little bit in corners, but it's not the kind of car you're going to be kind of thrashing around a back road. This is a car you're going to use normally on a day-to-day basis. The brakes, we've got discs all round. The car stops really well. I've had no problems with the way the car stops. They are very sensitive, so it does take a little bit of getting used to. When you initially touch the brake, there is quite a bite to it, but the brakes are really effective. Now the engine, this car is fitted with the 1 litre 125 PS turbo EcoBoost petrol, which I've been really surprised with actually. I mean, for a 1 litre with 125 PS, it's pretty awesome. I mean, back when I was sort of 17 and I started driving, 125 PS from a 1 litre was unheard of, and they were really slow. It'd take forever to get to 60. But this car, I mean, we're in second gear now, you put your foot down, it takes a little bit of time to wind up, but when it gets going, when you get to sort of 4,500, it does really pull, and it is very surprising. You don't need any more power than this. You can get to 60 in a reasonable time, and it's not dangerous. Cars can be too slow and they become dangerous, but this has got just enough power to keep you out of trouble. Now the engine itself, it can sound a bit gruff with it being a 3-cylinder. It can sound a bit rough, but I kind of like it. It kind of gives it a bit more of a, you know, a bit more of a growl to it. There are other variants of engine you can have with this car. You can have the same engine but with 100 PS, so a bit down on power but would be a little bit more economical. You can have a 1.5 diesel with 120 PS, which is practically the same performance as this version. And then you can have the 1 litre 140 PS version, which is obviously going to give you a bit more performance and a bit more power. But this car, I think with the 125 PS engine, I think it's perfect. And I don't know if I'd want to spend any more money increasing the horsepower to the 140 PS version. Fuel economy, I did a trip to the coast. I did about 200 miles. Average driving, dual carriageway, single carriageways, just taking it easy, and I averaged 47 miles per gallon, which I was quite impressed with. With town driving, you know, the sort of shopping trips, etc., that will fall to around 44 miles per gallon. But even so, for a turbocharged petrol engine, that is very good. So I think this car does fulfill its purpose very well. The only thing I am kind of struggling to get my head around is where the whole active thing comes in, the whole kind of crossover. What market is that aimed towards? Now, the only real difference to the car is a little bit higher. It's not an SUV, it's still a small hatchback. Now, the thing I think separates this car is the styling. I think if you want a Fiesta which looks a fair bit different and has, you know, a bit more beefier styling, I think the Active is the one to have. Now, we also do have a separate drive mode on this car. We have a slippery drive mode, so we have normal, eco, which is for an economical run, and a slippery drive mode, which is obviously to kind of assist the car in wetter, maybe snowy conditions. But the car isn't a four-wheel drive and it isn't an off-roader, but it's just something to maybe assist you a little bit more. Now, it could also be a car you'd maybe want to consider if you live in an area where you have bumpier roads, it's a bit more of a rough ride, so the suspension on this car would kind of make things a little bit more comfortable. But primarily, I think this car is just another Fiesta which looks different. So it's just giving you a bit more choice out of the Fiesta range. So you've got the Fiesta ST if you want the more aggressive, sporty looking car. You've got the Fiesta style Z-Tech, you know, if you want a more standard, subtle looking car for less money. You've got the Vignale, which is a more expensive version, but it has a bit more class to it, you know, better tech. And then you've got the ST line for the younger driver wanting a sporty looking Fiesta. And then you've got the Active. So, you know, it'd be interesting to hear from you guys where you think this car sits within the market. But for me, I can kind of see the point of it. You know, it does make sense to me. It would be a car I'd buy just to kind of stand out a little bit more, just a different looking Fiesta with a bit of comfort to it. So yeah, overall, I'm very happy with this car. Very kind of pleasantly surprised as to how nice it drives. If I was looking for a daily car to have for a good few years for around this kind of price bracket, this would definitely be a strong consideration for me. Anyway guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on the car. Any alternatives to this car which you'd go for, please do put them in the comments box below. And I do read the comments and I will reply. I do find it genuinely interesting to hear what you guys think. Once again, if you do want to test drive a vehicle for 48 hours, please do get in touch with TC Harrison Ford. The link will be in the description to the video. And until the next video guys, thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing. Take care, and I will see you soon.